Hey guys, Sean C. Phillips here with my brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. First thing though, want to let you guys know the Blu-ray that I have been talking about the last two shopping videos. I didn't say what it was. I wanted to kind of surprise it for the video. I finally did get it. Also posted about it on my Instagram. I'll put a link below if you guys don't follow me on Instagram. But this is a movie that I never ever thought was going to get a Blu-ray release, and it sort of didn't in a weird way because it was taken off the official website for the company that put it out on the Amazon, the Canadian Amazon. It's like fully back ordered, but a couple copies though did get out and still seem to be in some Canadian Walmarts. Nobody really knows why this movie was pulled, what ended up happening, and what's going on, but it looks amazing, and the movie is The Peanut Butter Solution. And this is the French Canadian release, and it has the the English version and then a dubbed French version. But like, I never in a million years thought this would get a Blu-ray release. You could still find this though on eBay. Every so often a copy or two goes up on there. But this movie is one of those films as a kid I used to watch this all the time. It's a movie too that I totally forgot the name of for years. And then I discovered a tape of it, like 2000 when they were selling off all the tapes in Blockbuster. But I used to watch this all the time as a really little kid, and it's a really, really strange movie about this kid who goes into a building that caught fire the night before, and he heard that people had died in there. He goes in there and something happens, and he gets scared like to death, loses all of his hair, and then like doesn't want to leave his house. And then these two homeless people that he helped come to him at night and tell him about this concoction of this peanut butter with this weird stuff that he puts on his head. But if he screws it up, his hair won't stop growing. Of course, the kid screws it up, his hair won't stop growing, and he has all these kind of problems going on. But never ever thought this would get a Blu-ray release. So happy this is out, and I got this one. And if you guys, like I said, are near a Canadian, in Canada, the Canadian Walmart seem to have this one. But also though, at the end of this video, I'm going to have a couple new DVD and Blu-ray reviews, some really cool stuff from Arrow Video, as well as Get Out and a number of other titles as well. But anyway though, guys, let's get going and see what we can find today. Into Target we go. And in here today, the main stuff that came out, was Resident Evil, the final chapter. And I always really like these Resident Evil movies. I know not everybody loves them, but I pretty much have liked every single one of them. And the DVD one, it's always funny when they have like a totally different cover. The DVD one has this different cover of Mila Jovovich with the zombies like behind her like this. And they have, the 4K one here for $29.99, and it's $19.99 for the regular one. This is the other one that came out today. This one, The Space Between Us. This is another one that kind of had mixed reviews, but I kind of really like this one a lot, about this kid who was born on Mars, and like they were afraid of him ever leaving Mars because like his bone structure, and they were afraid he wouldn't be able to live on Earth, and he was like living in the space station, and he like kind of forced them to take him to Earth against their wishes, because he wanted to meet Britt Robinson's character he became friends with. And the other one that came out today as well was Triple X, and their 4K one of that is $29.99. But like I said, this one I kind of really like this one of that release. I don't know if there's going to be any exclusive releases of this one anywhere today or not, the Resident Evil one. And I thought somewhere I heard something about there's supposed to be like these steelbooks in here, Target exclusive ones, but I don't see any of them in here today. But this is another one of the things that came out here today. This one they have the only at Target steelbook one of Wonder Woman here, and I think this was like an older movie from a couple years back as far as I could tell, and it's like a brand new edition of it. I might be totally wrong though. I don't know if it's brand new or it's an old one, but I'm pretty sure it's a reissue one. And I've heard that the Dollar Trees, have the Dollar Dvds and Blu-rays back. Shall we head in and see if they do? And it does look like they have some of these dollar ones back in here again. It seems to only be DVDs in here though, like A Serious Man, which is one I don't think I've ever seen that one. It's Brendan Fraser one, but it seems to be like I feel like some of these ones I've seen in the past before in here, but it doesn't seem to be any Blu-rays in here at all. This is some weird one of these kids giving the thumbs up. Little Love Matchmakers. It's a very strange looking movie, but it looks like a lot of stuff I feel like I've seen before. This one was okay, this Locker 13. This was an interesting kind of anthology movie. As I remember, that was not bad. This one is one I think I've never actually bought. I might just buy this for $1. This one, Corey Haim, Jim Varney movie, which was okay. I remember it wasn't amazing, but I never have actually owned this one. Haven't actually seen that one in years. But for $1, I'll probably just get that one. But it's not looking like anything else too different. I know this one I haven't seen before, Cyrus, but this was actually kind of a decent movie. But like I said, it's only the DVDs in here this time. I don't know if there's any Blu-rays in any of the stores or not, but just cool to see them again. So definitely check the, you know, Dollar Trees if you have any near you guys, because it seems like they have them again. Into the Valley Thrift Store we go. And it's been like maybe a little over a month since I've been in here, so I have to look through here and see if they got anything in here different. Because last time I was in here, it was kind of like the same stuff and like really picked over, but it seems like there's more things in here today. So hopefully there's something different, out of print or anything like that in here. Some weird like Wild Africa tin set thing in here. But the problem is a lot of these places, you know, you just come across the same stuff you see all the time. But I have found some out-of-print things in here in the past, so you never really know, you know, what you're going to come across in here. I don't know if I've ever seen this one, Happy Endings. And in here, though, the only things that I found that were kind of weird to come across was this, like, this Matthew Perry movie called The Ron Clark Story. I think it's worth like $11. I'm not sure if this is one that I'm that interested in, though. But a lot of times these, I think these are like Echo Bridge ones. A lot of these have gone out of print. They put out Under Wraps, and that's like a really rare one. This is funny to see in here, too. This Scrubs, this is like a UK edition one. So if anyone gets this one, it's Region 2, so they're going to be in for a bad surprise with this. And these ones are sort of weird to come across. These Paula Deen's Home Kitchen ones. Some of these Food Network ones can be really valuable for some reason. Like certain ones, not all of them. But I'm not really a big fan of Paula Deen, so these are not really ones I'm not really interested in. But some of these ones, always check the prices of these, you know, Food Network ones, because a lot of these were like Target exclusives. I think most of them were. Into Walmart we go. It's real funny, this Walmart, it seems like really empty on the walls, like they like took down a bunch of stuff off the walls. Just seems like real sparse and empty in here today. Very strange. But in here today, though, you know, it seems like yet again they didn't put out some stuff like the Resident Evils. None of the Resident Evils seems to be put out. One of the things that did come out today was this new edition, you know, the Mummy Ultimate Collection, which has, you know, all the Mummy films together, as well as, you know, movie ticket money towards the, you know, the Mummy, the new one with Tom Cruise, which looks kind of interesting. The first trailer for it didn't look amazing, but then the next one, some of the other ones looked a little bit better than the first one. And then the other things, you know, was The Space Between Us and, you know, Triple X, and then, you know, the Wonder Woman one. But other than that, don't really see too much else in here. And I don't know if they had any exclusive editions of Resident Evil or not, but it seems like they're not put out at all. Like even over here, the space is empty as well for them. And this Sunday, you know, Twin Peaks comes back on Showtime, so I can't wait to see that. You know, I think this is like a newer edition they released. It's like the DVD only one, but I just can't wait to see, you know, how, you know, what it is like and stuff. And I purposely not watch, you know, any clips or anything from the new one, because I kind of want it to be a surprise. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be signing up for Showtime, you know, just to see the new one. It'll be interesting too, since it's on Showtime, they won't have to like edit it or make it, you know, as more TV friendly like they did, because it used to be, I think, on like CBS or something like that. So definitely it's going to be cool to see it, you know, on Showtime. And these things I think are new. They're like the DVD versions, but they're like the bromantic comedies, and they come with like a koozie can cooler thing. I don't know where it is in here. I guess it's like smushed in the back. But they have that of War Dogs, the Rush Hour movies, Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumberer. So these are kind of funny, these kind of things. But it seems like, you know, there's a lot of empty spots here and stuff, though. So I don't know what some of the other ones are. And this past weekend, the only movie that I saw was, you know, the Goldie Hawn, Amy Schumer movie, Snatched. And I have to say, though, the movie was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't feel like it was going to be that great from the trailers, you know, but it actually was okay. But it's not, like, by no means a perfect movie or anything. It's an example, though, of one of those movies, though, where the trailers, like, gave away so much of the movie, and there was very few surprises about with the plot or anything. They kind of show everything in that trailer, like, so much stuff. That's the problem with comedy movies. I feel like comedy movies, like the trailers, they really like ruin a lot of stuff, and there's really not much to see with it. Of course, there was some stuff that they didn't show. You know, I really like Wanda Sykes in the movie, and it was kind of cool to see, you know, Goldie Hawn in a movie again, because she hadn't been in a film since like 2003. So it'd been a very long time, but it's so weird though with Amy Schumer how, like, years back, when Trainwreck was coming out and stuff, everyone really loved Amy Schumer, and, like, everyone, like, was always talking positive about her, and all of a sudden in the last year or so, there's been all this negativity with her, and people don't seem to like her as much anymore. It's always weird when that kind of stuff happens with some people. You never know for certain why with some people. Like, the same thing kind of happened with Pauly Shore, how Pauly Shore was in all those movies, Son-in-Law, and Encino Man and everything, and everybody really seemed to like Pauly Shore, at least for the most part. Then all of a sudden he kind of vanished and wasn't in bigger movies anymore. And it's always weird how that kind of stuff can happen with some people. But let me know below though what you guys thought of Snatched if you saw it, and the movies that you saw this past weekend. This coming weekend though, I can't wait to see Alien Covenant. That movie looks really cool, so that's definitely one I'm going to be checking out.
Into Best Buy we go. People are in here like blasting the TVs and the music and everything, but they have in here though the Mummy one here, and they have an exclusive steelbook here of that one. So that's a pretty cool steelbook, the only at Best Buy limited edition steelbook of that one. They also have a limited edition steelbook in here as well, exclusive steelbook packaging of Triple X, the Return of Xander Cage, and it looks like it's the same price for the steelbook as the regular edition one of that as well in here. And over here too they have an end cap as well for the Mummy, and I think this is in the wrong spot, so I think it's like $7.99 if you guys want the Mummy, just the movies themselves, and then for $16.99 it's all three of them together. That one seems to be gone. They're all, I think it's 3 or 4 of them together, but they do have the 4K one as well, and they have a steelbook of that one as well. And I don't know if the steelbook is exclusive to Best Buy like the the steelbook of the non-4K one, but the 4K one is $44.99, and that's like, is that all? So is it 3? Yeah, so it's 3 movies. It doesn't have, I guess it doesn't have the ones like those Scorpion King ones in here.
Well, that's all for this DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video. Like I always say, guys, enjoy these, shopping videos. Definitely give this video a thumbs up. Now stay tuned for some new DVD and Blu-ray reviews. Video, and this is one I somehow had totally missed before. Never seen this one. It's from Frank Henenlotter, who directed the Basket Case films, Frankenhooker, Bad Biology. Have always really loved his movies, but this one, somehow I had totally never seen this one before. It's a movie called Brain Damage. Really, really cool artwork on this one, and has on here brand new artwork as well on the inside art, the interior art, as well as a booklet in here with some pictures and stuff like that. And here's what the creature in this movie looks like. It's a really weird film. It's basically about this guy who wakes up and he's got like blood on his bed, like right where his pillow is, and it's like he's got this terrible pain. He's like really pale and doesn't know what had happened to him, and it's this really weird creature that attaches himself into his brain. Like he basically injects this like kind of like weird substance juice into his brain, and it's basically like almost like puts this guy on drugs, and he starts seeing things in these really, really weird colors and all this weird stuff, and he wants the guy to end up taking him out at night and going around and like killing people. The brain creature like attaches himself to these people that he goes and finds like in the junkyard, and these women and all this kind of stuff, and attaches himself to them and sucks the brains out of them. And there's these insane sequences, especially this one that I know I was reading about. It ended up getting cut out of a lot of editions years ago, and they had all kind of problems with it, with the censors and stuff. But then with this one woman, it was this crazy scene. The stuff though, when he's like seeing these colors and stuff, was really crazy, trippy stuff. But he's basically getting controlled by this brainstem creature who talks to him and saying, "Come on, take me out, and you need my juice." And because basically, if he doesn't have this juice that's injected into his brain, he kind of comes off of it like drugs, and he like needs this to basically survive without kind of falling apart, like foaming at the mouth if he's not continuously getting this. And his girlfriend doesn't know what's going on with him because he's really changed. His whole personality is different, but he's not allowed to tell her what's going on because this creature is like biting him and stuff like that if he tries to tell anybody. And if he doesn't do what he says, like I said, the weird stuff starts to happen to him, and he starts kind of coming off of the drug and stuff, so he's kind of forced into doing this. It's funny too that voice of the creature There's a guy called Zachary the Cool Ghoul, and I used to always see him. He passed away a couple of years back, but I used to always see him at the Chiller Theater Convention. Oh, and I never knew, though, that he, had done acting, because I always knew, though, he did, like, horror hosting. He had, like, a show, I think it was in New Jersey, like a horror hosting show, but he was really great, though, as the voice of the creature telling him what to do. This is one of those ones, like, I truly love this movie, and especially love the music. Really, really cool synth music in here. Gave it a really cool vibe. Has a whole bunch of features on here, a brand new makeup making of on here, a commentary track with the director, things on here talking about the special effects, as well as things on here looking at the filming locations of the film. But just a really, really cool movie. And like I said, if you guys like Basket Case, Frankenhooker, those type of movies, it's totally in that same style. They even have the Basket Case character, the guy with the basket, in this movie in a really quick cameo, which was kind of a funny thing. And it was kind of a cool thing to add to this movie. But like I said, though, really, really cool, trippy, weird film. Now, some other ones I'm going to show you guys that are, coming out from Arrow as well. It's going to let you guys know about these ones. And this one is a movie called The Climber. Inside of here, there's of course, there's a booklet in here with pictures and stuff like that from the film. And this movie is kind of, when I was reading about this movie, is from what they were saying, is kind of the movie that inspired Brian De Palma to do Scarface. It inspired the film Scarface. And this is basically about a guy who is like a criminal who is kind of starting out really slow, like selling cigarettes and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of him moving up the ladder in the whole world of the criminal underworld and like getting like more and more power as it goes along. But it deals though with like double crossing and revenge and all that kind of stuff. And it's like this, and like from what I was reading though, it's very similar. But surprisingly though, I don't know if I ever actually fully saw Scarface. I saw clips and things like that of it, but when I read though, this is like a very similar story to like the rise and everything like that of the Scarface film. But it has on here though a brand new 4K restoration of the film. Also the transfer though on Brain Damage 2 was amazing. Really great transfer on that one. Has on here though the brand new translated English subtitles on the Italian soundtrack version of this one as well, but it's also in English as well. The next one here, and this is from the director who did the trilogy, the series of films, and these were from the Battle Without Honor series and the Humanity series, and I believe both of those were released by Arrow Films about like a year or so ago, and this is a new release from him, a new title that has been released from him. This is a movie from 1975 called Cops versus Thugs, and this is kind of like a criminal underbelly world about this cop dealing with all these like the criminal activity stuff going on in Japan, all that kind of stuff, and trying to kind of keep the peace and all that, in Japan, and trying to keep everything together. And it has a booklet in here, with stuff about the films, as well as facts and stuff like that. And here's a look too at the disc art on this one. And the last one here from Arrow, and this is one from the Arrow Academy line. And the Arrow Academy line really releases some cool stuff. It's pretty much a line bringing attention to movies that really were highly reviewed, got a lot of like accolades and things like that, but have been lost and like never really had major releases and stuff like that, at least in the US. And they're kind of bringing them out now and bringing a whole lot more attention to them, and then giving them these really cool releases. And this one is in a hardbound case here. This one is called this is the Jacques Rivette collection, and these are movies that he did. They're a series of films that were all supposed to kind of be a connection to them, but they were going to be all different types of genres to them, but they had a connecting aspect to them. One of them was going to be a love story, one was going to be a western, then it was going to be a thriller, and then a musical comedy. But he only ended up getting to do two of them because he ended up getting too sick to do the third film, and then the other ones in the series, and the producer kind of carried on to do the third one and put it together. But this is, like I said, the Jacques Rivette collection, and this has cool drawings on these ones. And I'll show you guys a little look inside at these. Like I said, it has on here the three films that are in here. This one is called, this one is called like Norquiette. I know I'm saying this totally wrong. Duel, and then the Merry-Go-Round is like the third one in here, and as well as I'll let you guys look a little bit at the booklet, the book art in here for this one. This one is a limited edition release one as well, but it has like stuff about each of the films in here, some pictures and all that kind of stuff. I was watching through these. These were actually pretty interesting films here from him. Like I said, they all kind of have a connecting aspect to them, but they're all done in different genres. The one, too, had this really cool kind of like aquarium type thing with this gigantic turtle inside this aquarium. And I was like kind of like thinking like, I've never really seen a giant turtle in this kind of aquarium type setup they had. They're normally like outside and stuff, like one of those turtles that lives to be like hundreds of years old. It's like enormous. It was in this like tank thing. I don't know. One thing I was like really took away from it was this interesting kind of tank that it was in. The next one here from Lionsgate, and this is one, I believe this one had like a limited theatrical release. It went to a couple theaters, but didn't have a huge release. And this is one, like, I didn't know a whole lot going into this, and I thought this was actually, when it comes to, like, an animated film, this is one of the most fun ones I've seen in a long time, and it actually had, like, a positive message to this, and, like, I found myself very surprised with how much I actually liked this movie. It's a movie called Rock Dog, and it's basically, though, stars Luke Wilson, and it's set in this kind of mountain type community where it's all these sheep that are all like in this community, and they're kind of living there, and there's these two sheepdogs. The one is the Luke Wilson's father, and they kind of are there kind of guarding these sheep and trying to keep them safe and stuff, and they've had problems in the past with these terrible wolves that would going in there and like attacking, killing the sheep, and they came up with this idea of trying to like put these kind of put the sheep into these kind of costumes that look like these kind of like giant creatures or giant wolves themselves almost. They kind of guard the village, and they also the father, you know, played by J.K. Simmons, Luke Wilson's father, has like the ability of like this kind of power to move things and kind of like this power within him, and he wants his son to kind of continue on and help him guard these sheep. And the son has these dreams of being a rock musician and playing music and things like that. And the father years ago had banished music because like the town used to be all into music, and all the sheep and stuff were playing music, and then because of what the wolves and all that, they kind of stopped all that and focused everything on keeping everybody safe. And the son had heard this music on the radio about this like rock star, and really wanted to go into town, leave his village and see this rock star, and kind of hope that he will help him, be a, kind of hone his craft and kind of become like famous and big doing his music. And the rock star that he wants to see is played by Eddie Izzard, and it's kind of him leaving the village against the father's wishes, and the father's really upset about this, and kind of trying to be, and meet Eddie Izzard's character. And Eddie Izzard's character is like, this guy is like recluse and like locks himself away in the studio in this big mansion and isn't leaving. And it's like this whole thing of him trying to get in there. But the whole problem here going on though is the wolves saw this rock, that the dog is leaving this town, and the wolves are like, what's going on here? And I've never seen anybody leave this village. So then they start following him and trying to figure out what's going on. They kind of want to go over there and eat the sheep and stuff. So it's got a whole kind of subplot thing going on with that. And Keenan does a voice in here. Like I said, Eddie Izzard plays the rock star, and he was great though in this character. And like I said, I was really surprised with how fun this movie was. And I don't know, I just really was surprised with this, and I actually, to be 100% honest, I shed like a bit of a tear in this movie. Like I really did not expect to get as invested as I did in that movie. The next one here from Lionsgate, and this is Shaquille O'Neal Presents All-Star Comedy Jam, and I believe he had done a couple other releases of this in the past, these comedic, comedy shows that he had put together. And this one is hosted by Lavelle Crawford, who was in like Meet the Blacks recently, and he's been in a couple other movies and stuff, and he's really funny, and he's like the MC host of this, and it's kind of him coming in doing comedy and bringing in other acts and stuff and introducing them, and then them doing their acts, and then him like introducing the other ones and doing some comedy in between it. But like his comedy though is amazing. He recently lost some weight, so he's making some jokes too about like losing weight, and like talking about how you really can't say you lost any weight till people can actually tell you lost weight, because then they're like, I don't know, I just thought it was, I don't know, I just thought this was really funny. He's really dirty and out there with his humor. It's just like ridiculous stuff. He is so funny in this. I don't know, I've always been a fan of this guy. Like I said, I've seen him a couple of years ago in some other movies as well, and he's always really funny and does a great job hosting this. And Shaquille O'Neal, like I said, presents this, and there's a funny opening too with him, when he's telling Lavelle that he's going to host the series. But if you guys like stand-up comedy and stuff like that, definitely check this one out. The next one here from Universal, and this one has a big thing on here feature-wise, which has an alternate ending. But this movie is called, Get Out, which this movie had amazing reviews. It's like pretty much a perfect score, except for this one guy that gave it a negative review on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if it's still the case now, but I remember like it was this one guy that gave it a negative review on Rotten Tomatoes to try and screw it up. But this was really cool movie, and really like different film, one of the most original movies in a really long time. This is directed by, Jordan Peele, who's known from, the Key and Peele and a number of other movies and stuff he's acting in as well, but mainly, from comedy. And he directed this, it's a parody horror movie in a sense, but it's also very serious too as well. And I definitely think that he's going to go on and do a whole lot of horror movies and like do way more directing, because he just did such an amazing job with this. But this is basically though about this guy with his girlfriend. He's going to go and visit her parents, and he's really concerned about seeing her because she comes from like the South, and the parents, he's really worried like, did you tell them that I'm black? Are they going to be okay with this? Have you ever dated anybody black before? How are they going to respond? And he's kind of like really overthinking it and really, really like paranoid about going to see them and how they're going to respond and what's going to happen. So he goes there. And like, immediately on the road though, they end up hitting this deer and they come across this kind of prejudiced cop. And so he's already getting more and more nervous along the way. But if he gets there to see the parents, and the father is played by the actor from Billy Madison, who's the guy who's trying to take over the company. And like, I always been a fan of that guy. He was in Cabin Fever, Cabin in the Woods, and a number of other things, a lot of TV and stuff too. But he comes there and he's kind of, the father is really kind of weird and kind of trying too hard. The mother is kind of like hippie-ish and does weird kind of hypnotic techniques to like as a therapist, like a hypnotherapist, just really kind of weird parents. And he's there and he's noticing that there's something just really off. And there's like the people there that help around the house who are African American, and like they're like really almost just seem like they're not there, just the way they're talking and everything. And he's just noticing there's something really peculiar going on. And it's kind of like what happens. But I love this movie. Like I said, this is one of those ones, sometimes when you see a movie that's got like perfect reviews and stuff, you never know if it's going to be like really like overhyped or something like that. But this one actually is one you don't want to know too much more about what happens. It just was so cool. Now, the alternate ending, though, is very, very different. It is a very, very different ending, this movie, because I watched through that. That was like one thing I was really interested in seeing. It has on here, though, as well, deleted scenes. I think there was like 15 minutes of lead scenes, something like that on here, as well as a commentary track. And there's also, on the alternate ending, it has a commentary too, talking about like the reason for the changes and stuff. Q&A on here, and a commentary track throughout the film as well. The next one here, from Magnolia's Magnet Line. This is an anthology horror movie that I was really interested in seeing. And the thing about this movie was, it's an all-female directed film, and it's also all the central characters in each of the 4 segments on here are females as well. And this one, I liked all the segments on here except one of them. One of them I didn't like too much. Like the last segment wasn't my favorite, but all the other ones, though, I really liked. I don't know, for some reason I just didn't love the last one too much. But this one was called XX, and this is basically, though, like I said, it's 4 different stories, and it's kind of connected through these kind of cool stop motion type animation. And it's the one on here that probably was my favorite one, was called The Box, about this family that's on this train, and the one son, there's this really peculiar guy sitting on the train who has this box, and he's like, oh, it's a birthday gift. And the son peeks inside and looks at it, and once he sees this, the son like has seen something, and then he starts not eating, and like he's like going, the family keeps on trying to feed him. He's like, oh, I'm not hungry, pushing it away. I'm okay, I'm not hungry. And he just like refuses to eat. That's the main aspect of that, and like what happens from that. The other one, Don't Fall, is about a group of friends, and I thought that one could almost have been a whole movie. A group of friends going out to the desert. And like it was like the guys were like really kind of peculiar guys. I don't know. I liked it though. Like I said, I would love to see a whole movie of those characters going like on doing something, because like they were just really funny characters and stuff like that. The way they were acting and stuff, like especially the guys, like I said, were real goofy. But they were out there, going, camping out, and they're camping, and they filmed in the area where they filmed Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and Star Trek. Like that really cool mountain from Bogus Journey that Bill and Ted were thrown off of. Always cool location. Obviously, they filmed like Alpha Dog there, but they, go out there, and then something ends up happening, out there, and to one of the girls. The other one, was like the birthday party, and that was Melanie Lewinsky's character, and her husband ends up dying the day of the birthday party, her kid's birthday party, and she doesn't know what to do, so she kind of like figures out how to like hide the body of him and what she wants to do with him. And then her only son was kind of like what happened after Rosemary's Baby. That's kind of how they pitched it. But like I said, I didn't love that one too much, but the other ones I really liked. And I just thought this was actually a really fun movie, and they actually put a whole lot of features on here, a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff on here, some interviews with some of the directors. St. Vincent, who's known for doing music, directed the birthday party segment on here, and she did a really good job at that segment. Hopefully she goes on to do more stuff, and I would love to see a second of this. I feel like this is a series, though, that could definitely go on with female directors, because there's a whole lot of other female directors that could do for, like, follow-ups to this as well. But I really like this. Like I said, it's It's had some mixed reviews and stuff online, but like I feel like, you know, for the most part, all the segments on here I really liked. The one director also directed the movie Southbound, one of the segments in Southbound, which I really love Southbound as well. It's another one that's kind of underrated and you don't hear about too much. And the next one from Monarch Home Entertainment is a movie called The Outcast. This movie stars Victoria Justice, and then, you know, a bunch of other people in this one. The guy from, you know, Married with Children who plays Al's friend, Mr. You know, Jefferson was it Jefferson Darcy is his character, or was that the second husband? I always mix up the two, but he was also in Revenge of the Nerds, and he kind of plays the character he played in Revenge of the Nerds now, you know, as a high school principal. But like I said, and the one other actress on this was from the show The Middle, like the sister in The Middle. And this is, like I said, the movie called The Outcast. And this is one that really surprised me. It kind of in a way was like a similar sort of feeling film as The Duff. It almost was kind of like an unrelated sequel to The Duff, and like a Mean Girls type movie. It was actually really pretty well made. Like, I actually surprised how much I really liked this. Victoria Justice is from, you know, the movie Fun Sized and a bunch of other stuff, but it's basically, though, it's like her and her friend are kind of the kids at school that are kind of not popular, and the popular girls, they are always kind of picking on them, giving them problems, and they're having all kinds of issues with them at school. And they kind of come up with the idea of trying to become popular. And they want to kind of form this whole group where they take all the other kids that are not popular and kind of become, like, sort of all become the popular kids and become the popular clique at school, and kind of uprise everything and separate all the cliques, and all the unpopular ones become it kind of like sort of screw up everything at the school and change everything, you know, to be kind of better, since like all the popular girls are all kind of like giving everybody their own set of problems and stuff. I really thought this was a fun movie, though, and it just deals with like all their kind of problems in school and all the kind of issues and stuff like that, and then their stuff with their parents. The father was Frank Whaley, I think, you know, who was from, you know, Career Opportunities and played Boy and People Under the you know, Boy and Little Monsters, and I always was a fan of that guy. And he, like, it's so funny about him too is like he really looks the same, you know, like, you know, he's just a little older, but like he has the same look and everything. And I've always thought that guy was really cool, and like especially like in Boy and, you know, Little Monsters, like he was just so creepy in that movie. But this really was, like, if you guys like movies like The Duff and Mean Girls and those type of films, definitely check this out, because like I said, I was really surprised with that one, and like I had heard nothing at all about that. The next one here from Severin Films, this is one movie called Blackenstein, or Blackenstein, however you say it, because, you know, people always go Frankenstein, but it's Blackenstein, and it's basically, though, about this guy who was, you know, injured in the war and lost his arms and legs, and his wife starts working for this doctor who's doing these weird types of experiments about, like, transplanting limbs onto people who have lost limbs, and, like, doing transplants and stuff. So he ends up, you know, agreeing to, to the husband, transporting limbs onto the husband. But of course, though, the doctor who helps the Frankenstein doctor, starts like falling in love with the girl that, you know, the wife, and he like sort of sabotages the experiment and injects all this stuff into him, and kind of turns the husband into the, you know, Blackenstein, and the husband's going around and killing people, and it's like these real like cheesy, ridiculous deaths and stuff, like him going around and getting revenge on people. And the one guy, the orderly that's like talking to that was one of the like the crazy scenes of this movie, this orderly who was kind of giving the guy who had no arms or legs all these problems and stuff. It was like all he wanted was water, and he's like, oh yeah, everybody wants you gotta have special attention. It was just this crazy thing going on with those two of them having all kinds of arguments and disagreements and stuff. But this is just a really fun, like, crazy movie, and has on here, though, the theatrical version and then the video release version, which is 10 minutes longer, as well as an interview on here, you know, with the writer-producer. And there was also a thing about Frank Arsa, the producer of this, who had died, and there's like this like kind of mysterious death behind it. No one knows exactly how, and it kind of exactly why. And it's like the 80s news story about his death and stuff on here, as well as some other interviews on here as well. The next one here, this one you guys can get on. I'll put a link below. You can get this from the Horror Packs website. They have some copies that they're selling of this. And this is the limited collector's edition, Unearthed and Untold, The Path, the Pet Sematary. And like I said, this is one that they have, and it's a cool case. The cover has that like sort of early Warner Brothers VHS thing. Like I remember National Lampoon's Vacation kind of had this border around it. But this is the documentary on the making of Pet Sematary, and it kind of starts throughout the entire process of the beginning to the end, and all the kind of stuff with trying to get the movie made for years and not really having a lot of luck, and then when there was this writer's strike going on, then they finally got the film made. And it just kind of talks to interviews with the actors, the cast, the crew, and everything about the making of Pet Sematary. And if you guys like these kind of things, definitely a very well-made documentary, you know, chronicling the entire making of the film. The next one here from Wild Eye Releasings, and this is, I think, one of their first Blu-ray releases, because I know they've done some like burn-on-demand Blu-ray releases, but I think this is one of their first like big release Blu-rays, I'm pretty sure. This is a movie called American Mummy. This also has the 3D version. I don't have a 3D TV anymore, so I couldn't look at the 3D aspect of this one, but it has the 3D one if you do have 3D on the Blu-ray on the same disc. This is basically, though, a movie about this archaeology team that's like looking for like mummy artifacts and stuff like that in the middle of the desert, kind of like, I think it was like New Mexico desert, and they're out there, and basically, though, they find this kind of booklet, this book with like all these sort of like spells and things like that on there, and the one girl there ends up like doing this ritual that ends up kind of awakening something, and it's like starts with like basically what ends up happening though is like possessions, and like people who are out there, you know, doing the dig and stuff, all end up getting possessed, and they start dying off and stuff. It was a pretty fun, like, you know, low budget kind of like mummy creature feature thing. It wasn't like a lot of mummy aspect to it, but a lot of just weird stuff happening, and I liked like the location and stuff, and like where they filmed this and everything. But it has on here behind the scenes, outtakes, and like I said, looks really good though. Like I said, it's the Blu-ray one, so hopefully they continue on doing, you know, more Blu-ray releases of some of their stuff. The next one here, this is from, you know, Cleopatra Entertainment, and this company, or Cleopatra, yeah, Entertainment, and they're releasing the movie that I have a part in called Devil's Domain. I think that's in July. That's coming out. This is a movie called Street Cat Named Bob. This is actually based on a book and based on a true story. This is basically, though, about a guy who is, you know, kind of lost everything living out in the streets, and he's got drug problems, and he's, like, you know, recently just, you know, went to the hospital for having, like, pretty much overdosing on drugs, and he's kind of having a lot of problems, and he kind of a musician on the street trying to get any money that he can just to basically to eat, and then, of course, he has the drug issues, and it's, like I said, this is a true story about this guy, though, who ends up finding this cat out there, and the cat is, like, sick, and he needs to help him along, and it kind of changes his life when he's helping this cat and changes everything for him. And there's something about this cat that everyone's kind of drawn to, really likes this cat, and like when he's performing, you know, all these people are coming around, he's getting all this attention. It's just one of those really positive movies about this guy, though, trying to get his life together and get everything figured out, but really, really well done. If you guys like those, like, you know, really positive feel-good type films, definitely recommend checking this one out. On here has on here cast interviews, behind the scenes bonus footage, and a slideshow on this one. And this one here stars Iggy Pop. And Iggy Pop is kind of like the kind of like in the dream-like sequences of this movie. And this is a French film called Starlight. And this is basically, though, about this really, really small circus out, you know, in France, and they kind of travel around and, you know, put on shows and stuff like that. And it's kind of like all the behind-the-scenes aspects of the circus, and like there's kind of like a love triangle going on, and like they all kind of like, a lot of the people there in the circus are not really that happy, and it's kind of them scraping by, going around to these really small towns trying to get, you know, bring in crowds, and a lot of these areas like no one's really coming in, and it's them dealing though with all the kind of problems, and then like the love triangles, and the clowns though are seeing these kind of almost like dream sequences, and they're seeing Iggy Pop's character in these dream sequences. It's a pretty interesting, like, trippy type film. You guys, if this sounds interesting, you guys, though, definitely check this one out. Like I said, like an interesting concept to that. And the last one here from MVD, and this is a movie called The High Schooler's Guide to College Parties. This is the unrated edition of this one, and this is pretty much so like about this guy who's in trying to get into college, and like his one, I think it was like his cousin or something, is on the board of the school that he wants to get into, and he's kind of a guy who doesn't really, you know, he's kind of like really dated, and he has like an old car, and like listens to tapes, and he's very like dated about his fashion and everything, and he's really trying to hopefully get into this good school, and it's kind of him coming up with the idea of having to throw this like huge party, and it's kind of him and his friends trying to put this thing together, and it's kind of all the kind of issues and like problems they're having throwing this party, and these kind of wacky problems that are happening along the way, kind of like an American Pie type film, and it's kind of this like the guy though trying to impress press the one who's on this board and trying to hopefully, you know, press him and then help him, you know, put in a word for him to get into the school that he's trying to get into. That's essentially what the movie is. But if you guys like those kind of like American Pie type films, though, definitely check that one out. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for the review portion of this video. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.